Well, we made a season 3.
And we were both in it.
We're both in it. How, we can't say, but we were there. We can talk about some things. If it is something to worry about, I'm not aware of it. But at the same time, we've also had many conversations where if one of us does turn out to be, I love that expression, a wolf in sheep's clothing, we don't want to know. I wouldn't want to know, because then it would end up affecting how I would love the idea of having that revelation come later and getting to go back and say, oh my God, and he was pretending this entire time. I don't want to say that's happening. I have no idea. As far as I know, that's not happening. But, you know, it's Orphan Black. Anything. I didn't think we were going to have male clones at the end of season 2 either.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Then that happened.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think that she always makes decisions from a really strong point. She doesn't make them without really thinking them through, but she does feel that sometimes the end justifies the means, and she's always done them from a place of protecting her family initially, but the family itself has changed so much, and some of the decisions maybe were not the best ones. I think you get to see another side of her, which is that you get to see her be a bit vulnerable. We haven't seen that before. You get to see her, you know, she's nurturing, or she's tough, or she's certainly badass. She's certainly able to wield a weapon and protect people. But I think you get to see her doubt herself, or question herself is better, I think. And I think that's really interesting as well. Another interesting part to a complicated person that they do. It's not all light or shade or action or that there's doubt as well. So it was great.
I love that theme too with her. The idea of it's not always what she does and how she operates isn't always necessarily moral, but she's always trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Trying for, you know, the right thing for who, we're not entirely sure, but
I can tell you that you will learn more about Mr. S in season 3. Yeah, some more parts of how they got to where they are. Some more parts of the backstory are explained and looked at a little bit. I think that's really interesting as well. Sometimes it's hard to understand why a person is or acts the way they are, but if you can have a look at where they've come from or some of the things that have been around, the way that they're formed, their behavior becomes so much more understandable, doesn't it? You know, immediately it's just you can relate to their experience. So we do get to see some more of that. It was great. I just like that she seems like a real person. She seems like she's complicated. She seems like she doesn't always get it right. I think that's one of her great strengths. That you know, she will try. She will take on anything. It's not that she's not afraid, but she's most certainly not a quitter. You know, she's a survivor. I find that just really interesting and that's probably our greatest quality as human beings, that we can survive because we adapt and react to what's around us so quickly and so instinctively. So I think it's amazing just to see it, that she gets through, that you somehow you're not sure whether you love her or you hate her sometimes, because what she does is it's not always good, you know. It's not always bad either, but it's not always good. But I also think it's good to see that she's not always right. Even the bad stuff can actually be bad sometimes. It's interesting.
it deepens.
Yeah.
The relationship deepens. I don't know if better or worse. It just is. It's an entirely new shade that we haven't seen yet. The complexities of the world, I think, have grown beyond any singular management. Like Sarah can't handle what's happening with Leda and Castor and Dyad and everything. She can't handle that on her own. I think there's a lot more. There's more reliance on each other.
Yeah.
No one's really taking care of everyone. Everyone's sort of taking care of each other. and that was so great to explore. To have scenes where, as like you've been talking about, there's been growth in Felix, growth in S, and that she's seeing her kids not really as children anymore, but as autonomous adults.
Yeah, I think that's part of also doubting herself, is not doubting herself, but realizing that it's not just her making decisions for small children who are unable really to contribute to those decisions because they're so huge and so enormous, and their lives depend on the decisions. Now she has to recognize, and does, I think, that there are two adults and they need to be part of making the decisions upon which all of their lives depend. So I think she's trying to adjust to that and trust them. But also I think because we know each other better. I mean, it's just a very small example, but in terms of our physicality, we had one kind of sort of tender moment and in a scene. And without even thinking about it, I reached out and I grabbed Jordan's face, and I kind of grabbed his nose and touched his face. And just because we know each other so well now, I would be very comfortable to do that without saying to him beforehand, do you mind if we're in the same way? So more play
Way
and more natural.
Yeah.
Things like that have come just because we all know each other better as real people as well as the characters. Well, I think she certainly isn't going to react well, and I think that I knew that she wouldn't as I was doing it. But again, I felt that I had to do something to save her and Kira, and this was my bargaining tool. And even though it was another person, it was somebody I didn't care about as much, and that I felt I really could buy them some safety. And I think also at the time I very much knew that I was putting Felix in the middle of that he would be somehow, he would understand why I had done it much more quickly than Sarah would. It's not his sibling after all, directly. Helena isn't. But I somehow knew I was going to put him in the middle. So